Hello, this is Vicky from the Spellbound Bead Company, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make our sunflower pin. You're going to need 4 size 10 seed beads. I'm using silver-lined brown, silver-lined dark gold, silver-lined gold and scarab green, which is on the back of the sunflower. I've also got a candy bead here, which sits inside the sunflower. You can use any other similarly shaped bead that you've got in your stash, or a button, even if you wanted to use something like that. I've also got a 1.5 inch stick pin, which has got a stop bead on the bottom, and this one's got a flat pad that we're going to use to sit just inside your beadwork there. Now, if you don't have these, if you want to keep your costs down, you can stitch a brooch pin onto the back. This is a 20mm brooch pin, or you could even just use something as simple as a safety pin. So whatever works for you, whatever's easiest. Now, you can find the pattern for free on our website. This is a free download that we've done so that to help people with fundraising for the Disasters Emergency Committee Ukraine appeal. You can obviously donate to a different charity of your choice if you prefer. So the pattern comes like so. You can also buy this as a kit. We're donating a portion of each kit that we sell to the Disasters Emergency Committee, or we're also currently doing it as a bead pack. Obviously, depending on when you're watching this video, the bead pack may or may not still be available. And the bead pack will make you 5 pins. So that's what we're doing there. All the information's on our website. You can find it at www.spellboundbead.co.uk. So in addition to the beads, I've also got 1.5 meters of gold Nymo and a size 10 needle. So let's get started. We're going to start by making this brown disc that sits at the front. We're then going to add 2 rows of petals. And we're then going to make a second disc using the green beads. Then we're going to start stitching them together. We're going to slip the candy bead inside and the pin, and then finish stitching the 2 sides together. So we're going to start by using the silver-lined brown beads. I'm going to pick up 4 of these, and I'm going to bring these round into a circle, so you've got 4 beads in a ring. We're then going to add a pair of beads to each bead that we've just put into the ring. So we're going to pick up 2. We're going to go back through the bead we've just come out of and through the next bead around. And we're going to do this 4 times in total. So we're going to pick up 2, go through the bead we're coming out of, and the next one around. I'm going to pick up 2, and through and on. I'm going to pick up 2 and go through there. And then we're going to go back through the 2 beads that were the first 2 we added in this round to put the needle in the right position for the next row. So what we're going to do this time round is we're going to add 1 bead into the gap between each pair. So we're going to pick up 1 and go through 2, pick up 1 and go through 2, again pick up 1 and go through 2, pick up 1 and go through 2, and that will bring us back out where we started. So we've gone from 4 beads to 8 beads to 12 beads in the ring. What we're going to do now is we're just going to go through all of these beads a second time, this 12 on the outside, second time, just to make sure that they're all sitting nicely. So that's through 3, through 6, through 9, through 12. And what you may find this will do is that this will bring this into like a little dome shape. It's only quite shallow at this point. You may or may not be able to see that there. Don't worry about it if it doesn't do it too much, and equally don't worry about it if it does. It's sort of what we're aiming for. So the next row that we're going to add, we're going to do another set of increases. So we're going to increase from 12 beads to 18 beads. And to do this, we're going to add 2 beads to the first bead we're coming out of. And then we're going to add 1 bead to the next bead around the circle. And we're going to repeat this all the way around. So we're going to add 2 beads to the next bead, 1 bead to the bead after, all the way around. 1, 2, and then 1 onto the last bead of this round. Whoops. And again, we're going to go through the next bead on the ring, and we're going to come up through the 2 to bring us out onto the outer row of the disc. Again, we're going to go through all the beads again, and this should bring your beads up into quite a pronounced dome. So we'll just go through all these again. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and we've got 18 beads this time round. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay, and as you pull on that this time, you'll see you get quite a pronounced dome shape. So this will be supported by the candy bead later on in the design. So you can see that having a bead with a curve on the front is helpful, but not essential. Okay, so there we've got our centre of our flower. And what we're going to do now is we're going to add the 2 rows of petals. I'm going to start by adding the outer row in the dark gold, and then we'll add the inner row in the silver lined gold. So we're coming out of a bead, and we're going to pick up, in the dark gold, we're going to pick up 5 beads. 3, 4, 5. Bring those down to your work. We're going to leave aside the last bead that we threaded on. We're going to go through the next bead down, and then we're going to pick up 3 beads, like so. We're coming out of this bead, we're coming out of the bead here, we're going to go in through the previous bead and out through the bead that we started the petal on, and that will make us our petal shape. We're then going to reposition the needle by going through the next 2 beads around that ring of 18. Now we're going to start this petal in the same way. So we're going to start by picking up 5, 4, 5. And then we're going to leave aside the last bead and come back through bead number 4. But this time we're only going to pick up 2 of the gold, because we're going to connect this petal to the previous petal by going through that first bead that we put on in the dark gold, so down through that one, and that will connect the 2 sets of petals together, through the 2 beads at the base of that petal and the next 2 beads around. And we're going to do that same thing 6 more times till we get to 8 petals. The 9th petal is done slightly differently. So we'll keep going with this. down through 2. Okay, so that's 8 petals complete, and the 9th petal is going to join petal 1 and petal 8 together. So we're going to go through the 2 beads on the ring as before, and then we're going to come up through the first bead of the first petal, and then we make the rest of the petal in pretty much the same way, but this time, because we've already got the first bead on, we're only going to pick up 4. Leave aside the last bead as before, and then pick up 2 as we've done previously. Come down through the last bead, go through the 2 on the base, and this time we're just going to go through the next bead around, so we're going to offset the petals, the 2 layers of petals, and there we go. And there is our first round of petals done in the dark gold. The dome's still there. The dome is going to sit on the front, so that will be important now, because we're going to make sure that we put the layer of silver line gold petals on top of the dark gold petals. So to do this, these petals are slightly shorter and they're not connected to one another, so these are done in a slightly different fashion. So we're going to pick up 4. We're going to leave aside the last bead as before, down through the 1. Just make sure that's nice and tight. And we're going to pick up 2. And again, we're going to come back through the bead before the one we're going out of, and through the next bead, the next 2 beads along. Okay, and again, we'll start by picking up 4, 3, 4. And now this time we're not connecting the petal to the previous petal, so we're going to pick up 2 beads again, go through, 2 at the base of the petal, and the next 2 around there, and we're going to do that another 7 times till we end up with 9 inner petals in total. Okay, and then just 1 more petal to go in there. And through we go. And there we go, and that's our second ring of petals finished just there. So we've got the tail thread left, which we're going to leave because we're going to use it to put the 2 halves of the flower together. But what I am going to do is I'm going to finish off this tail from the beginning of the work, just so that it's out of the way. It's one less thread to contend with when you're stitching everything together. So I'm just going to bring that through the ring, like so. Of course, course now, because you've got all your petals there, it is going to get a bit tangled. I'm going to tie a knot around that thread there. And then we're going to go through another couple of beads. Just so that we're not clipping the tails of the knot right next to where we've tied it. Okay, so I'm going to trim that down. Like so. And there we have the front of our sunflower. I'm going to start a new length of thread. I'm going to use a slightly shorter length of thread this time because we're not making the petals. So I'm going to use just over 1 metre. Oops. Thread the needle. And I'm going to tie a keeper bead. I'm going to use a goldy coloured one this time for a contrast. And what we're going to do now is we're going to make a second disc like the one we made to start this sunflower on, but we're going to use the dark green beads this time, and this for the back of the flower. So again, I'm going to pick up 4 beads and bring them into a ring. Like so. And then I'm going to add a pair of beads to each bead in the ring. Oops. Move those out of the way for a minute. And put the last bead on the ring. Okay, and then so that's 4 pairs of beads, and as we did last time round, we're going to add a bead in between each pair. So that's it's not terribly easy for you to see. Oh, and I've got my fingers on top of the work. And that's there. And again, we're going to reinforce that row. So we're going to go through the beads a second time. And then we're going to add the 18 beads to make the next row. So again, we're going to add 1 bead, we're going to add a pair, a single, a pair, a single, all the way around. So pick up 2, go through 2, pick up 1, and go through 2. I'm going to do this all the way around again. 1 single bead to finish the round. There we go, and then again step up to change direction, and we're going to go through all the beads around the edge of this ring again to make the dome shape as before. Okay, And that's the back of the sunflower complete. So what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to finish off this end just yet, because I want to make sure that I don't pull this ring of beads in the centre too tightly so that you can't get the pin through. But equally, I don't want to put the pin through yet, because it's going to make the stitching together a bit awkward. So we're going to have a look here, and we're going to turn the sunflower face down, and we're going to stitch this outer row of 18 beads here to this row of 18 beads, this brown row that the petals are on. So we're going to start. I'm going to use the tail thread that's left on the back of on the dome, on the green dome, sorry, because it's a longer thread, so it'll just give me a bit more to work with. So I'm coming out of a bead on here. I'm just going to pick 2 beads on the back here. Now, if this is a bit tight, because you've already got quite a few threads running through here, you should be fine. But if it's getting a bit tight, just switch your needle down to a size 12 needle, just to make it slightly thinner, and it'll make it a little bit more easy for you to go through. So we're going to go through 2 beads on the flower. Oops. And we're going to go through 2 beads on the back, like so, and it will pull, so you get, it's a little bit tricky to see, I think, but essentially you want them to sit side by side. Go through the next 2 beads on the green ring, and then you want to go through the 2 beads on the flower side. Now, what I've done here by accident is I've actually lined it up so that the pairs are sitting behind the petal, which will help you make sure you're going through the right beads. Okay, so that's 2. So we've got 9 pairs in total, because we've got 18 beads. So we're going to go through 4 of them, 4 pairs, and then we're going to put the candy bead and the pin into place. So that's 3 there. Now you want to pull this firmly but not too tightly, because you need your beads to have a little bit of give for when you're when you're essentially stuffing the sunflower. Okay, so that's through there. Okay, now you've got a little pocket on the back here, and I think let's move that one out the way. And actually, let's do one more, because that's still quite a big gap. Just untangle my threads. So I need to go through here. And back again. Okay, so what we're going to do, that's better, it's not so big, is we're going to put the candy bead in so that the dome side is facing the front of the flower. So that sort of squishes in there. And then we're going to take the pin, take the keep off the bottom. Now this is a bit sharp, so obviously just be a little bit careful. And we're going to come through so that we're coming through the middle of that 4 bead ring that we put on the back, and we're just going to pull it through like so, and just give it a bit of a wiggle so that it sits in, and the flat pad is going to sit against the candy bead. Now I know what I'm like, so I'm just going to put the keep back on the bottom so that I don't scratch my hands to pieces. And it's going to be a little bit tricky now, because you've got this additional weight of the pin and the candy bead to deal with, but you should find that you can just carry on stitching together in pairs around the edge. Of course, there's lots of places for your thread to get tangled now, so just take your time. This is the fiddliest bit of the whole thing, in all honesty. As with so many things, it's just that last finishing touch. And again, like we did when we were stitching the petals, you can just manipulate them with your fingers, so just give them a poke and move them out of the way. Sorry. Now this last couple, you might just need to give your thread a little bit of an extra pull just to make sure that it sits around the candy bead nicely. And this is the advantage of using a thread like Nymo or Mayuki thread or something along those lines rather than the fire line, because the fire line doesn't have the give in it that you need to be able to stretch and tug your beads and your beadwork. So you can see there's a bit of a gap, but if you just pull your thread, it will just pull the two sets of stitching together. So I've just got one more stitch to do here. Like so. Now if you want to, you can go around and reinforce all your stitches, but to be honest, it's not necessary. Everything's going to hold there nice and tightly. If your tension's a little bit loose, then yes, do, but my tension is not loose, so it's not going to be an issue there. So now all we need to do is finish off all these thread ends. So I'm going to come down here and tie a knot around that thread there, if I can get my needle under it. And through another couple of beads. And trim that. And then this bead from the initial ring. Now the pin's in place, I'm actually just going to reinforce it because this is probably the point of your beadwork that's under more tension, because you've got the pin going through it. So I'm just going to go around those beads again. There we go. And so we're just going to go around these 4 beads on this starting ring again. Now don't forget this pin's not actually fixed, so you can just push it out of the way, and it's not going to have any detrimental effect on what you're doing. Okay, so that's reinforced that ring there. And again, I'm just going to pass through another couple of beads. I think that might be the same beads I've just gone through, so try and avoid doing that if you can. Tie a knot. Through another couple of beads. So all I've got left to do here is just finish off this thread end on the front half of the flower, and that is your sunflower pin completely made.